The dust of Dry Creek carried a silence that seemed to follow Wyatt Hale wherever he went. He had been a different man once, a man with laughter in his chest and warmth in his house. But the blizzard that stole his wife 3 winters ago had left him hollow. Now he moved like someone carrying too much weight, 2 children under 8, a ranch on the edge of failure, and a barn so full of neglect it smelled of despair. He told himself what he needed was simple: help to cook, clean and put the place back in order. Nothing more. No companionship, no feelings, no tenderness, just help. That's why he decided to seek out Eliza Whitaker, the widow in town. She had lost her husband to fever and lived in a cramped room behind the seamstress shop, sewing late at night for pennies. Wyatt thought hiring her was a practical choice, a transaction. But when she came to his door, the course of his life quietly began to turn. Before we move deeper into this tale, let me ask something of you. If this story touches your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. It is your support that helps these stories continue. And your words in the comments mean more than you know. Eliza arrived at the Hale farmhouse with little more than a carpet bag and the air of someone used to hardship. She introduced herself to the children with a soft smile. Rosie, bright-eyed but fragile, nodded eagerly while Jessie, older and quieter, simply studied her with a kind of weary caution. That night she cooked a stew and baked biscuits, and the smell filled the farmhouse in a way it hadn't in years. The children spoke more at the table than Wyatt had heard in months, answering Eliza's gentle questions while Wyatt ate silently, unwilling to admit that something about the meal felt like home. He told himself she was here to work, nothing more. In the days that followed, Eliza mended curtains, scrubbed floors, and set shelves in order. She swept the barn without being asked. She taught Rosie how to wash in circles instead of slashes, showed Jessie how to hold his knife steady when whittling. Wyatt noticed small changes. The house seemed less tired, the children lighter. One evening, he found himself pausing at the doorway as Eliza read to them by lamplight. Her voice was warm, steady, a sound he had not realized he missed. He stepped away quickly, ashamed of the longing rising in his chest. But the land was unforgiving. That summer, a drought drained the creek, the cattle grew thin, and the bank's letters hinted at foreclosure. Wyatt worked longer hours, his temper snapping like dry twigs. When he gashed his arm, freeing a calf from wire, Eliza cleaned the wound without hesitation. He flinched and muttered that she was only brought to work the house, not him. She tied the bandage tight and said quietly, "You don't ask for help. But even cowboys bleed." Her words struck deeper than he cared to admit. Trouble deepened when Burke, the sly storekeeper, arrived with a wagon of feed Wyatt hadn't ordered. He insisted Wyatt take it on credit, warning of interest that could ruin him. Wyatt clenched his fists, ready for a fight. But Eliza stepped onto the porch with a pitcher of water. She handed Burke a tin cup and said, "No one should drink what he doesn't want." The message was clear. Burke smirked and left, but his threat hung in the air. That night, Wyatt snapped at Eliza for interfering. Her calm reply stayed with him. "Maybe you don't need saving, but you do need reminding you're worth saving." Then came the storm. Lightning cracked the ridge, igniting a wildfire that roared across the prairie. Flames raced with the wind, sparks showered the grass, and chaos filled the night. Wyatt shouted orders. Jessie pumped water with trembling arms. Rosie tried to help, but froze in terror near the lambing shed as sparks fell dangerously close. Eliza ran without hesitation, scooping Rosie into her arms and wrapping her in her shawl, shielding her body from falling embers. Wyatt saw her bravery through the smoke, and something broke open inside him. Fear, pride, grief all at once. Together they fought until dawn, beating back the fire. The ranch stood battered but alive, and Rosie clung to Eliza as if she had been hers all along. That evening, in the ash-scented quiet, the children stood before Eliza with eyes wide and solemn. Jessie lifted his chin and said, "Miss Eliza, please be our mama." Rosie held Eliza's hand and whispered, "Please stay. Please be our mama." Wyatt's heart lurched. He had brought her here for work, but the fire had stripped away all excuses. With his voice raw, he confessed, "I thought if I hired you, I wouldn't owe you my heart, but I do. I want you here because when you are, this house feels alive again." Tears filled Eliza's eyes. "I cannot replace what you lost," she said gently. "But I can love what's here if you'll let me." Wyatt bowed his head. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it was no mistake to ask you to stay. In the days that followed, Wyatt returned Burke's feed in broad daylight, refusing to live under his debt. With Eliza's sewing income and help from Pastor Miller, the ranch steadied. Jessie carved wooden birds and sold them, Rosie braided ropes, and Eliza filled the house with warmth. Wyatt relearned laughter, though clumsy at first, and Eliza carried her grief with dignity, weaving it into strength for the children. Not every day was easy. There were sharp words, nights when Rosie cried for the mother she barely remembered, mornings when Wyatt apologized for his temper. Gossip in town whispered Eliza had trapped him, or Wyatt had trapped her. They ignored it. Their truth was louder than whispers. In September, under a cottonwood tree, Wyatt and Eliza exchanged vows. Jessie held the rings, Rosie clutched Eliza's hand, and the word promise seemed to settle into the roots of the land itself. They pledged not perfection, but presence, not riches, but resilience. That night, as the children dozed by the fire, Wyatt admitted quietly, "I'll still need to hire extra help at harvest." Eliza smiled. "Then we'll hire it together." And so the Hale Ranch became more than a patch of land. It became a home where sorrow was shared, love was chosen daily, and promises were kept not in grand gestures but in biscuits, bandages, and listening. Dry Creek no longer swallowed Wyatt's better nature, for Eliza and the children had pulled it back to life. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And please, before you go, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Together we can keep alive the stories that remind us all that sometimes the simplest plea, "Please be our mama," is powerful enough to change everything.